Melbourne is at a crossroads. For a century, we've built out, chasing the quarter-acre block until our commutes hit the 2-hour mark and our freeways choke themselves to a standstill. But now, the plan is to build up. You've probably heard of the term 15-minute cities. In some corners of the internet, it's a conspiracy theory about restricting movement, locking people into digital neighbourhoods tracked by CCTV cameras. In the halls of Victorian Parliament, it's framed as the only way to save our infrastructure from total collapse. Today, we're looking into how the Suburban Rail Loop is the skeleton of a massive urban experiment, an attempt to turn Melbourne's middle suburbs into a ring of high density, walkable activity centres. We're going to look at whether the theory works, whether the international evidence stacks up, and honestly, what gets lost if we get it wrong. Let's clear the air first. A 15-minute city is not a fence around your neighbourhood. It's a planning philosophy, a goal that everything you need for daily life, work, transit, groceries, healthcare, schools, green space, is within a 15-minute walk or cycle from your front door. The concept was formally developed by Franco-Colombian urban scientist Carlos Monroe in 2016, and it really exploded into public discourse when a Paris mayor adopted it as a centerpiece of a 2020 re-election campaign. Since then, it's been taken up by lots of major cities around the world, from Singapore to Barcelona, and now, yes, Melbourne as well. For most of Melbourne's middle and outer suburbs, we currently live in what I would call 45-minute cities, where the car is a requirement, it's not an option. The push for transit-oriented development, or TOD, is about flipping that script, and the SRL is meant to be the mechanism that makes it possible. I've seen your comments. Many of you are deeply skeptical. You've pointed out that Melbourne isn't like Paris or Barcelona, and that trying to force density onto our sprawl feels unnatural or even dishonest. So let's look at the cities that have actually pulled this off. Let's start with Paris, the flagship. Paris's strategy has involved pedestrianising school streets, removing nearly 70,000 on-street car parking spaces and replacing them with trees, playgrounds, and cycling infrastructure. The result? A 60% increase in cycling in under 5 years. And critically, Paris didn't achieve this overnight. It built on decades of metro investment, making the most of their existing infrastructure. But here's a comparison I think is more relevant for Melbourne. London's Elizabeth Line. The government's own SRL website cites this directly. When the Elizabeth Line opened in 2022, it generated an estimated £42 billion of economic boost within 2 years. 55,000 new homes were directly enabled with public transport infrastructure, and 60% of employment growth in Greater London occurred within 1 kilometre of an Elizabeth Line station. That's not some abstract planning theory. That is real, measurable transformation of suburban London, a city with similarly sprawling suburbs to Melbourne. Those hubs, Stratford, Canary Wharf, Woolwich, those were not thriving centres before the investment of the Elizabeth Line and other metro lines with transport-oriented development. Then there's Singapore. In 2019, Singapore's Land Transport Authority unveiled a master plan targeting 20-minute towns and an entire 45-minute city by 2040. Singapore's approach is radically government-led. Land is state-owned, planning is centralised, and density is distributed in planned new towns, each designed as self-contained activity centres. Academic research ranks Singapore alongside Hong Kong and Tokyo as among the world's highest performing 15-minute city environments. It seems what Melbourne is trying to do is to develop areas that are like Singapore and Tokyo, options for people to live in. So that means people that, want to live in the suburbs can still do that, but people that want to live in these activity centres now have an opportunity to do that. Now, you might fairly say Singapore's a city state, Paris has density already. These aren't the same as trying to retrofit Burwood or Glen Waverley, and that's a legitimate point. But the research on sprawling cities is also instructive. Barcelona's superblocks model, closing internal streets to through traffic and reclaiming them as parks and plazas, has been adopted in areas of the city where, not long ago, were unremarkable mid-density suburbs. The model works when the transit spine is there. And that brings us back to Melbourne. The SRL is meant to be that spine. And if it is, the international evidence genuinely does support the idea that orbital rail transforms the suburban centres it connects. The question is, does the government's execution match the theory? If you look at the project documentation, the SRL isn't just about moving people from Cheltenham to Box Hill faster. The 6 stations on SRL East, Cheltenham, Clayton, Monash, Glen Waverley, Burwood and Box Hill, each sit within a designated activity centre precincts. The government's target, 70,000 new homes and 130,000 additional jobs within these precincts by 2041. Some of these precincts already have thousands of jobs in them, such as Monash and Burwood, as learning centres. Now, the structure plans and planning scheme amendments for all 6 stations are expected to be finalised this year, following many months of public hearings in 2025. That will fast track rezoning and development approvals in these corridors, clearing the way for developers to build up. So take Monash and Burwood, 2 major universities currently surrounded by surface car parks. Under the SRL model, these become 24/7 activity hubs, student accommodation, retail, research facilities, medical services, all within a walking distance of an underground metro station. For the first time ever, Monash and Deakin will have direct rail connections. That's transformative for students that currently rely on buses to transfer to their universities. So, where do I land on this? By 2050, Melbourne will be a city of around 9 million people, roughly the size of London today. We cannot absorb that growth through endless suburban sprawl. The infrastructure cost alone, the roads, water, electricity, schools, hospitals, it would be unaffordable to spread out like that. The 15-minute city approach and the SRL as a structural backbone is not just politically fashionable, it is, in broad terms, the correct answer to Melbourne's growth challenge. It means people have options. They can still live in the suburbs, but there's opportunities for people to live near work, near the centres they want to go, if they choose to do so. Stay tuned on my channel because I'll have new videos coming out about the risks and honest concerns about the SRL project. Please subscribe. If you enjoyed, consider watching the videos that are popping up right now.